welcome everyone to our first actual hosting of leading group hikes for everyone. We actually have presented this to leaders of the 52 Hike Challenge. We've added some different little tips here today, but this conversation today is really for anyone who is looking to take people hiking. It could even be your friends. It doesn't have to be an official hiking group. These are some tried and true practices that we've learned throughout the years. And we thought, hey, let's help more people to get people outdoors together safely. So first and foremost, we want to thank REI, the outdoor retailer of the 52 Hike Challenge, and TechNew, the official sponsor of the 52 Hike Challenge, who is the outdoor itch experts. So we thank them for allowing us to do this work and present this conversation today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started.
Great. So I'm Philip, by the way.
I'm Carla.
And so we co-founded the 52 Hike Challenge, and I thought we wanted to start off this talk with talking about some of our culture and why we do this and what we're hoping to gain by sharing all this stuff with you. And we wish that everyone is supportive in this environment, not just that 52 Hike Challenge, but we hope that that's part of the ethos you bring to some of your group hikes. And we believe that as we get outside, that we become stronger. And, we want to provide an environment where beginners feel welcomed. And so we actually believe that the outdoors is a place for people to find solstice and to, change their own life through building confidence. And so we want to encourage that throughout. And that's part of our kind of our ethos here over at 52 Hike Challenge. So let's kind of get started here. All right. So what are some traits of a great leader? A great leader is someone who fosters inclusivity, someone who actually is welcoming of all people. That could be all races, all ethnicities, all different types of people around there. They make good decisions as a group, okay? It's not just about one person. It's not about ego. It's about making sure that everyone is safe. They lead with compassion and understanding and really want to have a passion for teaching other people as well. Good leaders are people who are looking for solutions. They don't look at the problems. They kind of figure out how to go from here. And as you're leading hikes, you're going to come up with some of these issues as well. And we're going to talk about that. It could be anything from weather, or it could be, an injury or something of that sort. So, you're going to have to be resourceful. Of course, a great leader is going to have patience. And something else we thought a great leader should have is integrity, punctuality, honesty, and is ethical. So with that, why don't you go ahead and talk about the knowledge and skills?
All right. So when you decide you want to step into this role of leading other people outdoors, we thought it would be fun to challenge you to complete the 52 hikes, because obviously, as you're going through these 52 hikes, you have learned so much, right? You've gone through probably different weather situations. You've had to learn what works for you in terms of your gear. You've probably encountered some things on the trail that you learned from, right? So, but if you're not doing the 52 Hike Challenge, definitely hiking often and having that experience of hiking in different conditions, whether it be weather, different terrain types, even elevation and mileage, right? And so these are all things that you want to feel confident already being outside in general. So hiking often, really important is understanding how to find trails, how to navigate, and ideally, you know how to read a map. You should ideally have taken a class or two when it comes to navigation. And then we definitely think it's really important to understand the importance of the 10 essentials. And we're going to quickly talk about them here. Also, we highly, one of our really important things here at 52 Hike Challenge is to promote Leave No Trace. So Leave No Trace has a free course you can take. We highly encourage everyone who decides to lead to get familiar with the 7 principles and also take the class. It's free to take, and you get a little certificate at the end, and that way you can now become a steward of the trail. So what we're trying to promote is, you know, making sure that we leave it better than we found it, and then we are actually educating our anyone that comes to our hikes about these principles, okay? Because that's what it boils down to. It's really that education component. And you know, people are going to be learning from you. And ideally, you want to have some CPR and first aid training. Now, if it's in your budget and in your means, taking a wilderness first aid course would be super beneficial. I know those are some additional things, but we think that there are definitely some things to consider as you are deciding to lead some groups. So as I mentioned briefly, and we talk about this all the time, you know, from Hiking 101, we constantly talk about, you know, make sure you're carrying these essentials. These are the items that will keep you safe in case of an emergency, and teaching these essentials to people in your group, okay? So we're not going to go over these in detail because we have a lot to talk about, but make sure you're familiar with these and you share these with your with people who are coming to your hikes. We're going to talk a little bit more about that here. All right, so we talked about the Leave No Trace. If you need the website, it's lnt.org, and you can search under online awareness course. As I mentioned, it is free to take. It takes about 45 minutes. It's worth your time and getting familiar with the principles. And just so you guys know, we just completed a course that we hosted for you guys a couple of weeks ago, and it's now available on YouTube. So if you want to learn more, we went in depth and we talked with our community about this. People had great tips. So feel free to go to our YouTube page where we have a video that really encompasses Leave No Trace in the front and back country. All right, so we're about to jump into these best practices. We have collectively hosted, I would say, definitely more than a couple hundred hikes, just between not only ourselves, but our community, and that's leaders. We've launched events all around the nation with REI for Opt Outside. I think at one point we hosted like 20 plus hikes in one day all around the nation. So we actually have been doing this for a long time, and we have learned sometimes the hard way. And we thought, let's just pull together and get you guys this really great knowledge so that you know what to do, how to lead hikes effectively. All right, so let's talk about a GPS device or GPS devices and orienteering. So if possible, again, if it's within your means, we recommend that you carry some sort of portable GPS unit with you, especially when you are now responsible for other people, and especially when it comes to group hikes. So making sure that you have a device that works if you're going to be in an area that does not have cell phone reception is really something we advise. We have quite a few devices. We have the Spot device, which is very basic, but at least you can have an SOS button. We have a Garmin, and we also have a recent device called the Zoleo device. So make sure that you check out different options for you and what works for you and your budget. I believe you can also sometimes rent these. So look into that a little more. If you are maybe having 1 or 2 events a year, it might be worth it to look into that. And then also, as we mentioned earlier, you know, taking a navigation course, understanding how to read a map and compass, and how to use these tools. And as always, we recommend that you carry your map with you and you put it in a Ziploc bag in case of inclement weather. And then just understanding how to navigate that map is super important as you're going to start leading these hikes.
All right, let's talk about planning a hike. All right, so we recommend that you schedule this about 30 days in advance in order to get the proper attendance. And so deciding on that hike location is also going to be really important. Looking up, like, for example, something that people can see online, for example, like something from All Trails. We've highlighted someone named Modern Hiker who's local to the LA region. Some different trail descriptions so people have an understanding about what they're getting into. And that way it's going to take that weight off your shoulders from, explaining all that, because there's going to be a lot of people with lots of questions, and just letting them know, where they can get that information. Okay. So we've also learned the hard way that, we need to make hikes accessible to all. And I say that a little bit jokingly because when we first started out, we were leading some difficult hikes, something up to Mount Baldy, Cucamonga Peak, other mountains in the LA area. And even though we told people it was advanced, we still had a lot of beginners show up, and it just created a lot of problems or issues. And so we want to help you avoid that.
Yeah.
And so after some time, we started to realize that we should just really focus in on hikes that are somewhere about 3 to 6 miles, under 1,000 feet of elevation gain. And we found that actually worked out very well for people who maybe weren't hikers, who wanted to get into the outdoors. And it really helped out a lot. It's kind of a short and sweet hike. It's something that you would usually be finished with around lunchtime so that you can all go together and have lunch and really have a more bonding experience. Anyway, we want to encourage that. Generally speaking, about 5 miles. And when you say 5 miles, we're talking about round trip distance, not single way. And the total would be about 1,000 foot of elevation gain. All right. So you definitely want to know about the environment that you're going into, and that includes the flora, fauna, the animals in the area. So if you're going to be up north and maybe Montana or something like that where there's bears, or just other areas, you want to let people know about that. Obviously, be prepared. Bears usually means bear spray. But if you happen to be down in Southern California or somewhere else where there's like snakes, you want to let people know about that. If you happen to be in an area where there's poison ivy, leaves of 3, don't touch me. There's different, poison ivy looks different in different seasons, and you should be aware about what that looks like. So that way you can avoid taking people through that, maybe even point it out to them. Of course, we have a photo of Technu, and we actually bring this with us in case someone happens to go through a patch, and
we need to treat it.
Yeah, right. And so especially if you're putting on any hikes that involves where people are taking their dogs or pets with them, because you really want to make sure that you just can't control everything, but you can control the remedy, so to say. Let people know about the pace that you're going at. Generally speaking, about 1-ish to 2 miles an hour is a pretty nice pace for people to take photos, for people to take rest breaks. Anything that's above 2 miles an hour is really pushing it. So just want to let you know about kind of some parameters when you're thinking about that. And also as you're thinking about your hike. So if it's going to be about 6 miles, you can kind of make an estimate. There's actually another rule of thumb called the Naysmith Rule. Sorry, we didn't put that into the slide, but you can look that one up.
Yeah, if someone wants to add it to the comments, we can definitely use that help.
Yeah. So the terrain is important. Generally speaking, we stick to a lot of what are called class 1 hikes. We don't do anything that involves any rock climbing, scrambling, using of the hands. It's just you're asking for more issues when that happens. And those people should be more prepared if they are going on those hikes, because you really don't want to, you want to go out and have fun. You don't want to have an emergency situation that you have to respond to. So the weather is going to be important as well. And as I mentioned, booking this out 30 days in advance, there's no way you're going to know the weather. So that's something we have other slides talking about what to do as you're getting 2 days and 1 day, the day of the event. But definitely have people a projection of what the weather might be, around about historical temperatures, so that they know kind of what to pack. And really all this is just to help people, feel safe about going. Again, we want to encourage people to have successful hikes. This is not a death march. You don't want, if you're taking a beginner on a death march, you're going to scare them away. They're never going to want to come back. They're probably going to tell other friends to avoid you. So it's one of those things where you really want to have a good environment. We really want people to feel safe and comfortable and happy when they're going outdoors, and then repeat and repeat. And as you keep going more and more, you can probably increase those levels. But this is really catered to those people leading entry-level hikes. So some other things to consider when picking a group location. All right, so understanding the hours of operation. If you're going to a park, they could actually close it down. And there have been situations where people, the parking lot closes at 5 or closes. Usually they close at sunset. And we're coming up on daylight savings time, where we're going to be changing, and it's going to get darker earlier. So make sure that you're aware of that. You don't want anybody to be locked up inside the parking lot. Weather could be a concern. Where we're in Orange County, they actually do close down the Orange County parks when it rains a lot. So that's another concern. So if you have something like weather, you have to number one, check with the park. But if there's any of those situations, you have to have a plan B. Check to see if there's a quota. There tend to be, most parks, we found out that they like to kind of limit the impact that a lot of the hikers have. So groups of like 10 or 15 is kind of around about the maximum that they like to see. Anyway, you might want to check into that, see if there's a quota. Also permits, so check into that. Let's make sure that all those trails that you're going on are public, not private property, not shortcuts. Those could be an issue. So, again, looking back into this on the weather side, making sure that there's, we want to account for any heat or any, it's coming up on the winter. So snow conditions, just watch out for that. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a future slide. We want to encourage people to stay on well-established trails, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Number one, from the erosion factor, but safety. It's really a big safety issue. Someone cuts a trail, they twist an ankle. Now you have a situation on hand, and you got to worry about that. So, and besides, we did talk about leaders being good examples, right? So let's not cut those trails. Let people know about where you're going to be taking your break and lunch, and maybe stop at some places that you can take photos. So this is going to be really important as you get familiar with the park or the area that you're taking people, and making sure that you actually prep before going as well.
All right, so I'm going to take it over from here. So when you are considering where to take your group hiking, there is a lot to learn, right? For example, in the summertime, it's really important to think about how the heat may affect others. It's not just about how it affects you. I, for example, tend to get extremely dehydrated really quickly in the summertime. So I opt for morning and evening hikes. So I would recommend that you really think about that. And obviously it goes without saying, if it's over, let's say 85 degrees, you may want to reconsider canceling or rescheduling your hike. You just, as a leader, you really have to think about risk management, which we are not fully touching on today. That's actually like a secondary level of training. But basically, as a leader, you kind of take on the responsibility for someone else and what happens to them. And that's why you need to make calls for the group, right? Definitely call the park rangers. You'd be surprised. They're so helpful. So picking up the phone and just calling the local park and saying, hey, I'm thinking about bringing a group. It's again, just also know that if it's a free event, which we do ourselves, there shouldn't be any issues. But if you're doing some sort of a paid event, now you're running into permitting issues, paying fees. So be aware of that. And calling them and finding out what's going on. I'll share a quick little short story. I had an event going on and it was a yoga hike. And to make a long story short, the main trailhead was closed and I didn't know that. And we were scrambling last minute. So it was really hard. And after that, I was like, we have to call and check to make sure that there are no special events. So making sure that you call to check in on that. And, the parking situation is another really big thing to think about. I think there's been times where we've shown up to trailheads and, there's like no parking for quite a bit of time. And that can be really frustrating for the event goer, right? You want to make these hikes really accessible and easy to get to rather than having people have to park a mile away, which means they're going to miss the hike. So always knowing what the parking situation is going to be. And one of the biggest ways for you to be prepared is to actually do the hike yourself before and do a test run of the hike. So you kind of know what to anticipate, where you might run into some areas that might be a little bit sketchy or anything like that that you may want to be aware of. Like Philip was saying earlier, we have a hike here called Black Canyon. And in Black Star Canyon, they're known for having poison ivy. So if we would go to check it out beforehand, we would know not only bring, the technu with us, but also where are we going to encounter that, right? And can we pass through safely? So this is one of the best things you can do beforehand is to do a test run. And then also like letting people know, right? Like, do I need to pay for parking and how much is it? I know that here at Crystal Cove, like the parking can be quite expensive. I think it's like $15 a day. So that might not be really realistic for people who are trying to get outside without those additional costs. And also starting early is really, really great for any hikes that are more popular or going during times. I know it's not great for everyone, but trying to go maybe during the weekdays sometimes might be helpful, although weekend hikes are usually more popular.
Yeah, and I was going to mention, for example, there's a trailhead that's really popular and in a pretty hike too. It's Chantry Flats. It's over here in Los Angeles. And you really have to park about a quarter mile away just to get to the location. It gets extremely full very early. So allowing people the time to park and letting them know, hey, park, maybe at 6:30, and then we meet over at 7 or something of that sort. So just letting people know so that they're not running late, so that you're not worried and they're not stressing out. Really, your job as a leader is to make sure that this is a very happy, pleasant experience for your attendees.
So what about for those of you who are in areas that have snow? We're a little spoiled here. We don't have a lot of snow in Southern California, but our hikers and group leaders in Colorado, for example, you're going to encounter snow. And we don't want to discourage you from getting out in the winter time, but you do need to be even more cautious, okay? Because things can happen in the snow, slipping and falling and injuries and stuff of that sort. Same as this last Leave No Trace event we talked about. We actually just presented a few weeks ago on hiking in the snow, where we gave a lot of tips on, how to make sure you're safe when you're hiking in snow, what kind of traction device to use. But really, when you're leading these types of hikes, we recommend to try to stay on fire roads if possible, lower elevation hikes, ideally, things that are going to have steady inclines. Even potentially putting together a snowshoeing event is something you can do, but just really understanding like, what does your what does your group need in terms of traction in order to be safe in these conditions. Here at 52 Hike Challenge, we do not talk about mountaineering events. We don't recommend people do anything that has to do with mountaineering. That's when you're using more technical gear, ice axe, crampons. Your risk of something happening go way up, and now you're looking at some liability issues that you just don't want to put yourself in that situation.
Yeah, so I've also taught for the Sierra Club as well, and some of their practices include if someone wants to go on a mountaineering trip, that they have to be recommended or send in a resume, all that stuff. So you really want to check out people's skill level if you're doing something a little bit harder. But again, I really want to discourage that. When you get into something like, say, mountaineering, those people would be excellent hikers. They would be people who would actually have had, maybe 4 or 5 years of experience getting outdoors. So anyway, just want to, again, remind everyone that this is for helping those people who are new to hiking, and class 1 hikes, that tends to be like a not so steep, whereas like class 2 and 3 and all that stuff goes up. And it also involves, using hands and whatnot. We don't really want to encourage that. We want people to be happy. We want people to like the outdoors.
And be safe.
And be safe, of course.
So as I mentioned earlier, make sure to do a test run, make sure that you know how much time you plan for, difficulty, parking. This is your best bet. You're better off just kind of picking maybe 3 to 5 hikes near you, maybe within an hour's drive, that are your go-to group hike locations. It's just better to really understand the trail you're going to be on, rather than be on the hike and then you're getting lost with your group. Okay, so doing that test run is essential. And then always have a plan B, because like I mentioned, things happen all the time. So if you do need to change your plans, how can we now go to a plan B? Maybe there's a local trail, but always thinking about, like, there's always the possibility that your plans may change. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the attendee management. And this is, again, what we were talking about. Before you set up your hike, you definitely want to connect with the local rangers or look up the limitations and group sizes, especially with COVID. I do want to say that we prepared this presentation for you, and it's mainly prior to COVID. So with COVID, you're going to have some extra things to think about. For example, there have been some parks that they only want you with immediate family and things of that sort. So this is your job as a leader, is to research and look up, what specifications and rules and regulations are in place at your local parks. So once you know your quota, for example, your size limit or the quota, for example, I led a hike in Washington, and they said that we could only have, I believe it was either 8 or 10 hikers. So I had to lower the count, and we ended up being just right under their limit. So make sure you understand that. And then when you go ahead and put your event up, which we're going to talk a little bit about, you're going to want to have just understanding that usually you'll maybe sell out all of your tickets, but don't expect 100% of people to show up. For all the hikes we've ever led, usually we end up with a 50 to 70%, just depending on the event attendance. And then definitely really important when it comes to leading these groups, ideally you have one leader for every 6 people, and always have a sweep. But you could still get away with one leader for up to 12 people with still having a sweep. Once you start having more than 12 people, it gets hard to really manage the group. So we recommend you now start including other people that can help to co-lead these hikes once you hit more than 12 hikers. Definitely, like I said, whether you have someone already that you're co-leading with or not, when it comes to the day of the event, you want to actually ask someone to help be the sweep. And we're going to keep talking about additional tips. So I'll move forward here.
All right. So controlling the event and controlling the number of people, we found Eventbrite is a really great tool, and we use that for our events. We actually still use it for these events, for our online events. But it allows us to put a cap. It also allows us to have a waiting list as well. So some of the things that you want to include when you're creating your event, you want to include, of course, the title, a nice photo, ideally something of the hike. You're of course expected start and end time, so people have an idea. I want to make a note about the GPS coordinate, having the meeting location using a GPS coordinate. And I like to use the coordinates, when you place a pin or you put a marker, you can actually get it in the decimal point. And using that is really helpful because we found that sometimes by putting the trailhead, sometimes it could be a little different for Apple Maps or Google Maps, but having that exact GPS coordinate with the decimal coordination, that's going to be kind of the default and the go-to. We want to remind you that people are going to probably click on the location and on their phone and then use that as directions, and they may lose signal. So you want to think about that ahead of time. You want to think about how that they're going to get to that location, and if they happen to lose signal, you don't want people to try to coordinate through a cell phone when there's no signal. It's just not going to work out. So included in the event creation, the hike description, what to expect. We talked about the elevation gain, the mileage. You can include this is where you kind of want to sell it too, what they might see. And, that's all fun. And, you could do something really cool. I know this is a little pre-COVID, talk, but there were some people that were bringing food items and sharing food, so that's all kind of good. They call it like a happy hour, and anyway, you're just bringing food, not beer, but food. So items that they should also bring to the hike. Definitely want to make a reference to the 10 essentials. Make sure that your attendees know about those 10 essentials. You're going to want to tell them to bring some snacks and how much water. So this goes back to Carla's point. When it's hotter, you're definitely going to want to carry more water, and then a reference, where they can get in this map. And so again, you can use all trails or other reference points. All right. Okay, so some of the things that we include, we actually do have a liability waiver. So that's just basically saying that, we're all out here having a good time. We're not, responsible if, there's an incident. So we want to perhaps maybe encourage you to have that as well. And so we want to also let you know, or let the attendees know how they can get a hold of you. So maybe that's including a phone number. This is on the event. It could be your email if you don't feel so comfortable about putting your phone number out there. You can also put it in the confirmation email that they get. So again, depending on you as the leader, but some people may have something that comes up and they may need to get a hold of you. Okay. So we already talked about most likely not having cell phone reception. So this is an opportunity for you to actually decide to meet somewhere else where there is cell phone reception. So some people, they go to a park and ride, and that's a great meeting location. Park and rides are notorious for leaving vehicles and then carpooling and figuring out cars there. You could use an app. There's a group carpool and other such websites out there. you can kind of coordinate this if you want in your Facebook group. You could use maybe a bus station or other public transportation area. I have seen some people meet in grocery store parking lots. I don't know if that's exactly recommended, but I'm just letting you know, these are some things that I've seen.
When they've met at the grocery stores, usually they meet together and then they all drive to the parking trailhead together where they lose the reception. So I actually think that's a really great way to do it.
Yeah, so then you can also have vehicles and everyone coordinate and then go to that same trailhead, and then everyone's just following the leader. Okay, so as we mentioned, Eventbrite, setting those RSVP limits really helps. Otherwise, you're just kind of opening yourself up for a whole bunch of people showing up and not really understanding what's going on there. We put a link to one of our older events, and so someone asked about screen sharing and taking a photo. I guess if you want to take a photo of this one and looking at it, I'm going to go ahead and show you the example of what that one looked like. So here, just so you can see, I put the GPS coordinates in there. You can see that on the bottom right. The location is the GPS in decimal form. It's very clear how the start and the end time, 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. We talked about, what we're going to do. We're going to enjoy a light lunch. We're going to have a beautiful view of Los Pinos Peak. And so anyway, we kind of just went into, there's more in here. We just kind of took a small screenshot just so you can kind of see what it looks like. And so now people have a pretty good feeling about what they're getting into. Anyway, let's kind of go on. So included in this, we also recommend Eventbrite because you have an option to create a wait list. And so as we mentioned, we have, and I think this is across the board, most people usually have put on an event and, you find like, there's a lot of people that said that they're going to show up, but they don't show up. Or people will be nice enough to actually let you know as a host that they're not going to be able to make it. So that's when you can so when you have the wait list enabled, let's say, for example, you have like, maybe 20% of the people that that you expect, you can put those on the wait list. For if you expect, say, a group of like 10, and you might want to have a wait list for 2 more people or 3 more people. And that way, when people let you know that they can't make it, then you can automatically issue a ticket through Eventbrite to those people on the wait list. So you want to set up a reminder about a week before to confirm, everything, and just make sure that those people can attend. Let them know that if they have any questions, they can talk to you, and then you can go ahead and release, those tickets for those people on the wait list. I did want to make one other mention here. Something I like to do, and I think we may have missed this one, but I'm going to mention it now. When you're looking at the location of the where people are going to park, I like to actually use Google Maps or Google Earth, the satellite view, and I like to actually zoom in on that parking area to see how many cars it can accommodate, and that will help you as well. So if you're having a larger group show up, you want to be able to account for that. Really helps. And then kind of think about like a plan B. So plan B parking wise. So if there's not enough parking here, you can tell people, just another quarter mile away, there's another reserve, overflow parking lot. And so make sure, again, as the group leader, you're doing your homework. I know you want to go out and go have fun on the hike, but this is a lot of work on your side, and making sure that people are also, all the people that you're going to be responsible for are going to have a great time.
All right, so you've put your event up, you've done all this hard work, and now you need to promote your event, right? Because ideally, you're hosting these hikes not only to create community, but to make new friends, meet people who love the outdoors just as much as you do, or give back, right? Like we're all doing this. This is a labor of love. Like we started this because we just loved hiking so much and it helped us so much. We wanted to help other people to get outside. And so once you post your event, you're going to want to then go ahead and promote your event. So how do I do that, right? Like that's, some people have a hard time with this step. And that's using your social media pages, you know, shooting out an email to your friends, to your family, sending a text and saying, hey, I'm having this event, would love to have you show up, and adding that link to the Eventbrite or whatever other way you're going to track your tickets. And, you know, you can also now, with permission, we wrote here, if you're in a Facebook group, you can always ask the admins like, hey, I'm hosting this. Usually as long as it's free, they don't have an issue with it. And as long as you are showing that you are a strong leader, like for us, we don't mind if people post events in our page, as long as, again, they're free. They're not like promoting, you know, something that goes against what we believe in. And we just ask that, you know, they let the admins know, so that we can review the event before we post it up. As we mentioned, we don't allow mountaineering events. You know, with permission, you can use Facebook groups. Also, there are some forums out there that you might be able to use. I know, for example, Six Pack of Peaks has a forum, and, you know, there's REI conversations and so forth. So get your event out there, get more people together in your local community, because that's really what we found most people want when they come to our events is, you know, they really are looking for new friends. They're looking for a way to, people need connections. So they're looking for connections, like-minded people coming together. So now we're going to talk a little bit about, you've done all of these steps, right? Like you've created your event, you're good to go, but now it's before the event happens. So before the event happens, you want to make sure to do some things that will help you to make sure you have a safe event. So one of the really important things is to check the weather and check conditions, right? So there's times where we have had to make calls to, again, cancel or postpone an event. And things happen, right? Like you just never know. So you need to make sure to check the weather and then decide, is it safe? And if the answer is no, then you may want to reconsider. Let's see, here, as Philip mentioned, in Orange County, when it rains, the trails in Orange County are shut down. So they're a no-go. So sending an email reminder to everyone like, hey, just confirming you're coming, just so you have an idea of how many people to expect. And then obviously, if it's possible, having a sweep beforehand. If not, you know, then ask someone at the event. But these are just some little tips for a couple days before. But the day before, or a couple days, however, you know, works best for you. One of the things we like to do, or we've done in the past, is we've printed, you know, RSVP lists. And that helps us, for example, with the waiver. So when we bring an actual physical copy of our waiver, and we would have people sign in and sign out, and that was like a catch-all. It's like letting us know that they agree to our legal terms, and also in case. So like I mentioned earlier, I just wanted to throw in some little risk management topics, which is, you know, there's a lot more to learn when it comes to this stuff, but just know that, for example, if someone comes to your event and you don't have, let's say that somehow along the way they have an injury or something happens, or maybe they said that they were leaving and they leave your event and something happens, they could still technically blame you for being responsible for them. So one way to help avoid a situation is, if people are leaving your event early, that they sign out of your event. So these are just things to really think about. Packing up any checklists, for example, maybe you have something that you want to, like a schedule of events that you want to talk about. Make sure you print out your checklist, that you have an emergency plan. Same again, that is actually something that we've provided to our 52 Hike Challenge leaders, which is talked about in the risk management. So there's an actual emergency plan. Like if there's an emergency, who am I contacting? Who is my in our case, we would be the leads of the challenge. So they would contact us. There's an actual plan with, like, in case of an emergency, here are the steps that we're going to take to ensure that we get help as soon as possible. Because once again, as a leader, you are somewhat responsible for whatever happens when they're in your care. You know, if you have giveaways, et cetera, you're going to want to get all your stuff together, put them in your car. I remember when we were leading a lot of hikes, you know, we'd like to bring our banner with us. We'd bring, you know, giveaways. So we just want to make sure we put that in the car the night before, so we're not rushing the morning of. And then, yeah, I mean, you're the leader, right? So you have to bring extra water and electrolytes, and you need to have a medical kit. You should carry a trash bag, because while you may know leave no trace, people that come may not, or you may want to lead by example and pick up trash while you are leading this hike. And then obviously bringing your 10 essentials, packing your own items. And again, if you do have that GPS device, make sure to bring that with you. I want to say that we've had many times where we've had to provide someone with like a Band-Aid, or we have had to give people water, or I don't know how many times I've been on the trail where I see a hiker that needs something and I have extras and I'm able to give them what they need. So
yeah, so the extra water and electrolytes, we've had these situations. So having an extra bottle of water, perhaps, you know, one that's not necessarily the reusable kind, but like, you know, one that you can just give away and just say you can keep it. Like I've also given away a Gatorade before, and so I didn't have one anymore. But anyway, I just want to let you know about these type of situations, because they do come up. And while, for example, I don't get as dehydrated as Carla gets pretty dehydrated. And so, you know, she needs more electrolytes and more shade and things for heat and exhaustion.
Oh, another really, just as we're talking about dehydration, there's actually some ways to help people with dehydration. There's like a really cool necktie that, you know, keeps cool. You dip it in water. Anyways, letting your attendees know about all these different little tools that they can have is really great. But as Philip was mentioning, just a total side note. By the way, I do notice we have a lot of comments, and we will get to them at the end of the presentation. We still have a little bit we need to get through. Yep. So let's keep it going.
This way. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, we may have messed this one up.
All right. So I hope this is the one. At the event, so we want you to let people know, hey, it's the time of the event. Okay. Welcome people, let them know who you are, do an introduction. One of the things that we like to do is we like to encourage people to make new friends. And so we would say, okay, who's from you know, whatever region we were in, but like, let's say down where we are, who's from Los Angeles, who's from Orange County, who's from San Diego, and, you know, maybe cluster and make new friends. So again, it all depends on what you really want to do with these hikes, but we really want to help encourage people to make new friends and to, you know, to get out on the trails more often. So, so that's important. At that point, you know, or I should say soon afterwards, that's when, you know, we kind of went into some giveaways, and, you know, some people, we would bring like extra sunscreen and stuff like that. So people, you know, could use that as well. You want to encourage people to leave no trace. Just as Carla mentioned before, bring an extra trash bag. A lot of people, one of the biggest things is people say, yeah, orange peels are biodegradable and banana peels are. And it's like, well, but, you know, and then, you know, you don't really want to go into like a whole detailed thing. You just bring a trash bag and just pick it up. And, you know, you can kind of let them know a little bit, but, you know, for the most part, it's you're not there to lecture people. All right, so you want to also make sure that people are properly equipped. You can ask them, everyone have their water, everyone have, you know, how many, okay, 2 liters. We said everyone bring 2 liters or 3 liters. So make sure that people have enough, the right equipment and the right gear to go on. We also brought extra snacks as well, so that way people could eat. But if you're doing something about 3 hours, I mean, you know, you're not really preparing for, like, you know, the worst case scenario. But anyway, I just want to make a mention that it's good to have extras. And as leaders, I mean, I always carried, like, my backpack was like twice as big as everyone else's. Risk management. You may want to ask the participants if they have any health concerns. We learned only after, later, after our mistakes, that someone, well, I think we kind of told people about this, but someone later told us about that they had, bypass surgery, and you kind of want to know about those things before you go, and especially if it's a strenuous hike or anything of that sort. At this point, as Carla mentioned, ask for a sweep if someone's out there and you don't have a sweep. So make sure that you have someone who's going to be a sweep. A sweep is someone who stays behind and make sure that when the group kind of gets separated, that they kind of know, okay, I'm going to stay back with these people. And accurately having a head count is really important for before leaving and at the end of the hike. It's also a good practice to let people know, hey, if you happen to finish a little early and you want to sign out, you have to sign out with the leader, and make sure that they sign out. Okay, so whenever you come to a fork in the road, intersection, any of those spots, that's where you want to stop as a group, and you want to let everyone know to stop, because there are some people that are going to want to get ahead, and so let them know, because even those people who go ahead doesn't mean that they know where they're going. So that's always an issue too. I've had that as well. So you want to make sure that people know to stop there. It's a great place to take photos and just catch up with everyone else. Or if the group happens to be large enough, break it up. So as we mentioned, staying on the trail, no backcountry hikes. Really want to reduce your liability, and really want to be safe for everyone. Okay, so yeah, we did talk about the waiver and sign in, sign out sheet. All right, so before the hike, we like to explain to people about the trail, and ideally show them on a map. And a lot of trailheads, well, I shouldn't say a lot, but there are a number of trailheads that usually have a map up front, and showing people where we are, and then where we're going, and stuff like that is really helpful. That way people have an idea about what to expect. Okay, so now it's just a normal thing. You're going to have people that want to take off a layer after about 15 to 30 minutes. So accommodate for that. So allow for that time frame for people to stop, take off their pack, take off their outer layer, maybe even change something else, maybe even decide to put gloves on. But anyway, you want to allow for that in the first 15 to 30 minutes. I don't care how hardcore you are, it's a standard. So keep your eye out on all your hikers, and make sure that you are responsible for everyone. So making sure that everyone is safe. You want to allow for water and snack breaks as well. While we recommend that everyone has a snack, I always keep a snack like in my pocket, and I pull it out and I kind of nibble on it. You can let other people know about these kinds of tricks as you're going out there. As you kind of parlay some of your knowledge and sharing some tips with other people, the more they're going to appreciate that, and the better hiking experience they're going to have as well. As you're getting closer to like an incline or something a little bit steeper, take a break there. It's probably a good time for you to take off again. If you have another layer on, you're going to be sweating, you might want to take that off. And of course, lunch breaks, depending on the situation. When we usually go to like a vista or something like that, that's might be the spot where we take our lunch break and then come back. But if it's like a half day, again, it's time for people. You just need to account for people to have breaks, and if they're having a snack or water or something like that, because not everyone's going to have a CamelBak or a hydration bladder. They might actually have their water in their backpack where they have to stop and get it out. Okay, post-event. So you had a great event, yay!
Yay.
And you want to make sure that everyone is accounted for, and this is the time for you to really create that bonding. And so you can have a closeout circle. You can ask people how they're feeling, what they liked about the hike, just sharing amongst other people. This is a great time for people. They might say, "Hey, I got some great photos of you. I could send them to you or post them on the Facebook group, whatever it is." But it's a time for everyone to kind of like reconnect. But again, safety is the most important thing. You want to make sure that everyone is out safe and everyone is doing good. So it's a good time for you to also collect some feedback.
Well, we have a lot of there. This is such a complex topic. There's so much more to learn. We kind of gave you a quick, we tried to like put all our knowledge from the last few years into this presentation of about an hour, but we're actually going to go over a bit. So whoever needs to leave in a few moments, that's fine. But what would we like, right? If you start up a group, please add it to our resources page. We have a local hiking group listing where you can add your groups. It's great because it allows people in the community to find your local hiking group. Okay, so add yourself to the group. If you do start up a hiking group, you can become an affiliate of the 52 Hike Challenge. So what does that mean? Obviously, we're able to do this work with not only the people who support us through purchasing the patch or stickers. So anytime someone purchases with your affiliate link, you'll get 10% back. And the link is here on the website. You can go on our website, 52hikechallenge.com, search affiliate and get your code. Share that with people. Please help us to spread the 52 Hike Challenge anyway. The new year is coming. A lot of people like signing up at that time. So we would just love and appreciate your help and support in continuing to help us to educate people and get more people outdoors. And then also, if you do start up a group, please take the challenge together or share the challenge with people in your group. And then, yes, now we're going to get into questions. And one of the top questions I heard and saw was like, hey, can we lead hikes with 52 Hike Challenge? Okay. So we are a small little organization here. And, it takes a lot running this community. We have people emailing every single day. We have our social media where we're constantly going back and forth with people. So it takes a lot. We really do have we have a spot on our website that talks about if you want to lead with us. What does that mean? Right now, it's mainly been leaders helping us with these online Facebook chapters, which allow people to come together and to like share within their local community where they're at in their hikes, maybe get together, make new friends. I've heard some incredible stories from these chapters. This is how leaders have helped us so far. Some leaders have taken the step to actually take not only this training, but the risk management. They've gone through background checks. We have a very complex program because this is a serious thing. We are serious about the safety of our hikers. We're serious about inclusivity. We are serious about making these events amazing and making 52 Hike Challenge this amazing community. And so it takes a lot. So my ask is if someone out there wants to help me to run this program, we have to kind of get a little more, there's a little bit of work we need to do on our end. But if you want to get involved, please apply to become a leader towards the end of the year, beginning of next year. I'll be looking through that just for people to help with the chapters. But if you want to help me to really kind of help get this off ground, that would be great. It really is a lot just leading the community in itself. So that's our ask today. But let's go ahead and answer some questions. And Phil, do you want to say something in the meantime?
Yeah. So I guess the long answer to that is yes, we have had some people lead some hikes for us.
Yes.
It's just that right now we're getting bogged down a little bit with our New Year's. A lot of people, and probably some people who are on the call that they've started around the New Year's. And so we're actually preparing a lot of that stuff right now. And so it's just really a bandwidth thing. So we could definitely use your help. I would say most likely in helping lead some of these online chapters first and foremost. and then as we get more people to help us with the leaders, then we can also do that. We have how many communities now? Or how many
We have like
chapters?
over 20 online chapters. If you go to the Facebook under groups, you can see them all. So join all, join the ones that are local to you. We have a catch-all chapter. So yeah, I could absolutely use help. And I don't know how this is going to look in the long run. We might want to start potentially like a nonprofit just for this arm of leading hikes. But this is all like long-term vision. But I definitely want to get back to some of these questions we have.
So someone said that they like to wait to the end to make sure everyone's cars start. Wonderful idea.
That's really
because
kind. Yeah.
we're coming up on winter, and something could happen. I mean, I've actually been in some areas where there's little critters and they like to get up there and gnaw on things inside your car and make sure that their car doesn't start.
Or someone could lose their keys.
Something like that could happen. Yeah. So making sure that everyone, and again, you're the leader. You're going to be responsible for these people, and so you want to make sure that everyone is safe, and you can leave last. Yeah.
Also, we are recording this and going to be adding this video to our YouTube page. So if you missed anything, you can go back, take notes, you can get all the links. So that will be available in a couple, maybe by next week. We will not only add it to our newsletter, but we will share it with everyone who signed up for the event.
All right. So Ashley asked, how do you deal with people who show up in improper shoes?
Yeah.
Well, okay. So and this might be a catch-all for, for other things as well. So if someone is not prepared for the hike and you don't feel comfortable, you're going to have to ask them not to be part of the group, not to be part of the hike. You're going to let them know, like, you don't have the proper shoes. We can't do this. And so it's going to be up to them to decide if they want to go do something else, or if they want to, but not be officially part of that group. Because when you're part of that group, you're taking that responsibility. We've actually witnessed someone actually bring what kind of shoes are those?
They were wedges, high heel wedges.
Yeah. And so Carla had extra.
I had my Tevas, my sandals.
And so anyway,
I gave them to the girl, but we weren't group hiking or anything.
It wasn't, and the terrain was such that obviously in these kinds of, in those shoes, it wouldn't be a good situation. It was a mellow enough hike that she could have done it in the Tevas. And by the way, just for the record, we weren't hosting that hike. We were just actually helping out. But anyway, that happens.
So there's a question by Esther. She said, more info for taking this class. So Esther, we would need a little more information. Like we mentioned, this class will be available, but there is the risk management, which we provide our Leaders for 52 Hike Challenge. And that actually is once a leader decides they actually want to lead hikes, now we run into and we get into the more detailed stuff. And then I did see quite a bit of people talking about Knowles courses, which I think is great. And by the way, be on the lookout, because we are going to be, we're going to be doing a promotion, I think this week, where we're giving out a coupon for 23% off REI classes. And that coupon is actually valid for these wilderness classes, which I believe they partner with Knowles.
Yeah, they do. It's actually a pretty significant savings. So the Wilderness First Responder course that coupon works for, it's an REI and Knowles event, and it can save you a lot of money. So be on the lookout for that one.
It looks like Esther got responded to. It was actually the Leave No Trace course. So we were just talking about Leave No Trace. They have a free course. So I'm really glad. Thank you guys for helping, by the way.
So someone asked about how do you deal with folks who need to use the bathroom on the trail when you're hiking in a group? Okay, so
that's a great question.
People have called this a split break, but the best thing to do is for them to take off their pack and leave it on the trail. And that's an indicator that there's a person away from the group, so that their pack is on the trail. And then they go off the trail and they take their toilet paper with them and travel and do their business. And so that way, as a group leader, hey, there's a backpack here. I'm missing a person. So you kind of have an idea about that.
And also letting them know.
You can, yeah, you can let them know males on this side, females go on this side. So it's also a good time to kind of split.
Yeah, I was going to say that also you can let them know at the beginning of your hike that, hey, if you're going to take a restroom break, let someone know. Because let's say you're at the end of the hike, maybe you're the lead, right? You definitely want to let at least one person know, like, hey, I'm going to take a restroom break. So those are parts of your announcements up at the beginning.
Yeah. So the topic on the waiver and does it protect you from being sued? Well, we happen to live in a very litigious state and anybody could be sued for anything. And while that may or may not be frivolous or whatnot, but basically it's kind of a step in the right direction of letting people know that, hey, we're not responsible for, you getting injured, and so it can help a little bit.
It can help to deter. That's what it really does. It's
Yeah.
like, hey,
So
like,
it's letting people know that there are risks involved in our waiver. We have a whole bunch of language in there, but basically letting people know that, hey, you're going for a hike. There are dangers here. There's animal dangers. You could twist your ankle and you can hurt yourself. There's potential for that, and just that they're acknowledging that they're signing up for this, because the last thing that you want to do is to lead this hike and say, hey, this is a great thing, and you put on this great event, and then someone gets hurt and they're saying, but you were the leader and you told me. It's a kind of a bad situation. So having some sort of language about that, you can find some boilerplate things. Do we have that online for people?
So what I was thinking, I was talking with Philip earlier, and I was thinking maybe what we can do is whoever is here today, if you are interested in the waiver, you can maybe, call it a little donation towards, we've obviously paid legal fees to get this waiver made for us. So if would like one, you can shoot us an email and let us know. Our email is hello@52hikechallenge.com. And we have a PayPal account. You can send us a little donation and we're happy to help you. We want to see you succeed. So that is always helpful. We're always willing to help you guys. And I think that's a fair trade.
Or if you just buy a patch and a sticker, that's
sure. Buy a patch and a sticker. Tell your friends.
Yeah.
I do want to say, like, Carol was saying that she lives, somewhere where it's always hot and, it's always 85 degrees in the summertime. So, Carol, like, if you feel safe, like, where you feel comfortable taking people out in that temperature, that's a consideration that you can individually make. And also, I think the most important thing is I was talking about, like, having the right tools, whether you have everyone wear that wrap or you go earlier in the morning or in the evenings, just finding those times and opportunities to get out when it's a little bit cooler. Sometimes that may mean you are only hosting hikes maybe in the springtime, fall, and winter. Totally up to you. Maybe even check best practices in your local areas when it comes to leading hikes and checking in with really your attendees. I think that would really be helpful.
Okay. I guess Veronica asked a question about 2 miles an hour. Yeah, I think that's a fair amount for people a fair pace for people to go. So walking about 2 miles in an hour should be kind of a roundabout standard. Little less than that would be great for people to take photos, and again for them to take not only take breaks, take photos, all that good stuff. It could be, if it's more social, it's going to be more like, 1 mile an hour. Again, this is all about enjoying those hikes.
Ava Larson, who is actually a 52 hike challenge leader in Washington, asked if we have any tips on where to post events in a local or physical way. Actually, yes. believe it or not, some REI stores do have a local bulletin board, and you can go up to the front and just say, hey, I'm hosting, some events, and ask them if you can post them. I've also seen hikes at Starbucks at their local bulletin board. You can check libraries, for example. Usually, again, they ask you request or talk to like the store manager, and that's what I've at least found. Any other spaces that might be helpful? Have any other ideas?
No.
Where they might be able to, other local places to post besides the bulletin boards I mentioned?
Those are good.
Okay. If anyone else has any tips, by the way, this is what we love about the community aspect. If you have some ideas, please add them to the chat so that we can mention them in the remainder of the conversation.
Christopher made a comment about not leading the hikes in our 52 hike challenge name. And thank you for that, because you didn't want to, create any liability for us, and that is true. So we love getting people outdoors, and we feel so honored when people are taking hiking to the next level, and maybe even leading fellow group hikers. So what we recommend is that you come up with your own name, and you say, whether it be Alabama Hikers or whatever it is, and you say, you can say inspired by the 52 hike challenge, or we are doing the 52 hike challenge as a group. And that really, it kind of avoids a liability for us. But one of the things that we can't have, and we wouldn't want, is for you to grab our image and then create a 52 hike challenge page or group or something of that sort, because
which has happened,
because it's misleading.
Yeah.
And it's misleading in the sense of it's not us, it didn't get approved by us. I mean, and I'm just being nice, but there's actually legal ramifications of that sort. And so we just don't want to have that. And but we love getting people outdoors, and we love having some of you facilitate and encouraging more people to get outdoors. So absolutely, you're again, as Carla mentioned, you can become an affiliate of us. You can help us with having more patches, stickers, medals, all that good stuff, and directing people to our site so that they can get more knowledge and learn more. Again, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, even, going into the groups and liking and commenting and helping keeping people motivated, something we're going to be talking a lot more about. So yeah, and I want to add a couple of notes. Ava and Philip, both Philip Yolo and Ava Larson, both recommended to keep some their Noon tablets on hand for electrolytes, so that way you can give those little tablets to anyone that might need them on the hike. So great tips, you guys. I absolutely appreciate you being a part of this. Let's see.
Okay. Do we have a course in Spanish?
No, pero lo debería hacer. Déjame saber, porque yo hablo español.
No,
so I just said, no, we don't, but let me know if I should do it, because I do speak Spanish.
Okay. Wonderful.
Man, it's so wonderful, you guys. Thank you for everything. I genuinely appreciate all the comments. We're definitely we love being a part of this community, and it's been really wonderful, and we just want to keep paying it forward. It's just an honor to share this information with you guys, and we know that as you lead and you help others, they become leaders themselves, and that's what creates that cycle of paying it forward and having that positivity. It's really realizing that when we help others, we really are helping ourselves as well. Yeah. So wonderful opportunity to learn.
I see a note from Kathy, and absolutely, you want to go as fast as the slowest hiker. So sometimes what could help is to actually put the slower hiker towards the front. Again, you take a break, you recognize that person's a little slow, and just say, come on up. And that's a time for you to, you know, readjust the pace and just kind of reevaluate things.
Shay, she asked what to do when someone with health issues shows up that we don't think or that you don't think should hike. So I want to share again, we do have this in our risk management portion of our training, our secondary training, and that is you as the leader can say, unfortunately, I'm not allowed to allow you into this group hike for liability purposes. And you can't obviously force them not to follow you, so to speak, but you can remember it's all about kindness, and you can just genuinely say, I'm at legal risk here and I'm not feeling comfortable, and I'm really sorry. I hope you understand my position. It's a really hard position to be in, and if you'd like to join a hike that's maybe less strenuous or whatever, please keep watching our page for that. And, maybe leading shorter hikes. One of the things we're going to be talking about right now during this time for Opt Outside is, how do we allow people who also have physical disabilities to join us on the trails? And imagine if we could find these nature trails where it's for people who have kids or people who have physical disabilities or someone maybe who has health conditions. So really managing your group and people that are coming to your hikes and their needs is really a great way, but always do it with kindness, with compassion, with love. That's really, I guess, what we're, one of the learnings is it's all in how you let someone know. It's in the delivery.
Yeah, we actually take a little bit of an interesting approach when it comes to group hikes, where we want, it's not necessarily difficult. It's again, it's to bring people together. And so when we do that, we usually lead people on fire roads, bigger trails, easier trails for them to go on, almost suitable for almost anybody. So again, it depends on you if you would like to do that. I mean, we obviously encourage it. It's really going to help get more people out hiking. Whereas, something like a single track, you don't want people to get lost and struggle. I did notice another one that Ruth mentioned. She said that basically there's a part where I was talking about leaving the pack on the trail. That's what the Sierra Club does. That's what some groups do. She was saying that, well, if they become disoriented, you could also they can have other things with them. And that can be true too. So, but one of the things that she recommends too is having that sweep to make sure that that person is accounted for. And so you just want to make sure that when someone goes to the bathroom, that they're letting the sweep know. And again, you as a group leader want to let people know this is what we do. We don't just take off and not tell people where we're going and disappear. That's not a good situation.
I want to mention that in all our years of leading hikes, we haven't had, thankfully, knock on wood, very many incidents or anything like that. There's been little things that have happened. It's just, it's a part of the nature, and I just want to say that this is an all-inclusive, there's a lot of information, but most of the time, the hikers that are coming to your hikes are nice. And I think most people are genuinely there. Like, I don't think it's genuinely something that, don't let these things discourage you from trying this, right? It's like very much needed. But just being aware and taking all the steps you can to like take the proper steps and really just, being mindful, I think is going to really help you. With that, I know that a couple of things we didn't mention was someone said, meetup groups are a great way to advertise your hikes locally. So definitely want to add that. And yeah.
I think we covered most of them.
Okay.
Thank you for everyone who attended, and we appreciate the compliments. Thank you so much. And this is again something that our lives have been changed through the outdoors. We love helping people. It's really rewarding for us to help all of you and to ensure that you're providing good leadership and good stewardship of the trails. It's it's kind of our safe haven, and we want to make sure that other people are treating it respectfully and just being good stewards out there.
And one last little question was, Lorraine said, what do we do when a hiker wants to return to the trailhead before the end of the hike? Do you let them go alone? So we did mention this earlier, but I'll recap. So we talk about, we have this sign out form, and you want them to sign out so that that way, if something happens, once they leave your group, they are out of your care. So that is pretty much what you should do.
I would make sure that
And,
I would make sure that they know where they're going. I would make sure that you know, still, again, I'm sure they have somewhere to go. I'm sure they want to get back, whatever they're doing, and get on with their day. But you still have to make sure that they're safe. You know, if you're kind of like at the top or somewhere, and they have miles and miles to go, and they haven't been there before, and maybe they don't have a GPS watch, you know, I'd almost like kind of let them know maybe a little bit closer to the end. It's just one of those things. You don't want people to let them go and have them get lost. Yeah. And then Philip mentioned, mentioned that they can only leave if they have a partner and they know exactly where they're going. Right, spot on. Yeah, I would do the same thing. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all so much. There is so much more to talk about. I just thought about, like, you know, one last thing, you know, let's say you don't have all these waivers and all this stuff, right? Really just want to make sure that they understand that they are out of your care. You know, I know it's fun for people to, like, after a hike, go have beer sometimes, or people food. You know, you definitely want to let people know this concludes the event under ABC hiking group, just so that there's a clear definition that, you know, whatever happens from this point forward is on them. You know, you just always thinking ahead is really important. And so I know I added that in last minute, but it was just something that I think is important, because, you know, people love getting together, and that's a part of the community aspect that I think we really enjoyed. You know, we haven't been leading hikes with COVID, but you know, when that happens again, I'm sure people will want to get together and be social, and just make sure you let everyone know that, hey, this concludes the ABC event. So yeah, thank you all so much. We really truly appreciate it, and have an amazing evening, everyone.
All right. See you on the trails.
See you on the trails.